Imagine Colorado without ranches or farms. What would that look like? The truth is, if you live in Colorado, your life is shaped by agriculture every day. The food you eat, the open spaces that surround your cities and towns, the wildlife you enjoy. Fact is, Colorado's cattle industry traces back a long way, more than 140 years. Many of the families who produce beef have done so for generations. They've learned to balance the knowledge of the past with the opportunity of the future. Their cattle generate nearly $4 billion each year, making beef production one of the key drivers in the state's economy. Their ranches and farms provide habitat for 75% of Colorado's wildlife. The commitment of farmers and ranchers to open space guards against the impacts of runaway growth and development. Their grazing practices enhance the health of native plant species. Colorado's farms and ranches are powered by the sun, the seasons, the rivers and the streams. Their pastures and fields are filters, scrubbing the air of carbon and other greenhouse gases emitted by cars, factories, and other urban activities. They push forward, embracing modern practices to produce the safest, highest quality food in the world at the lowest cost for consumers. Their story is all of these things and much, much more. The Frazier family came to Colorado in the late 1940s. Their ranch is a vast, unbroken landscape, and they use cattle grazing to improve and protect the native forages of the eastern plains.
This ranch is not only home to us, to our family, to the livestock we grow, but also to a myriad of wildlife and natural life. And I think that's very important for our existence going forward. This is a beef cattle operation, but really what we do is we're grass farmers. We convert solar energy into a product that we can use, which is grass. We use livestock as a tool to manage grass, to work with nature. So what we try to do is keep our cattle in a larger herd, allow them to graze the grass, and then move them off of that. So at any given time, about 95 to 97% of the ranch is not being grazed. It's actually resting and recovering and regrowing. Beef animal is really a wonderful creature and very well adapted to what she does. The animal, first of all, is a ruminant animal, which means, of course, that they have 4 stomachs, and they're able to convert forage, which is unpalatable to us, into something that is beneficial. Another important factor is actually the dynamic between the animal and the soil and the plant itself. The plants are actually invigorated when they're grazed, and in addition to that, the soil is improved by the actual physical impact of the animal and its hoof. It's like a little bulldozer, and they can do amazing and healing things to the soil.
The Butte Lake Ranch, located in southeastern Colorado, provides habitat for a wide array of migrating birds and waterfowl, as well as a wealth of other wildlife species.
Why do I like birds? To me, they're a great barometer of the biodiversity and the health of your ranch. And if you're a real rancher, you always like the wildlife around you. I mean, that's just the nature of a rancher. We like cattle, we like animals, we like horses, we like all of the wildlife. And this is considered to be one of the premier bird watchers' paradise. And a lot of our water facilities we let run over, and where there's always natural water and little wetland areas around some of our areas. And because of that, we have probably one of the greatest concentrations of wild birds of anywhere If you're listening, you can hear them right now all around us. But there's a misconception that people do think that we, by running livestock on our ranches, are actually destroying habitat and destroying the species, and it's quite the contrary.
The eastern plains of Colorado have our largest grasslands in the state, and basically 22% of Colorado are grasslands in eastern plains of Colorado. In the early 1800s and prior to that, we used to have a lot of bison, 30 million bison out on the Great Plains. And so when we actually ask, as a biologist, we ask the question, how do we maintain grasslands? Grazing, climate, especially drought, and fire. And the number one is grazing. There's no question that grazing maintains those grasslands. And so if we don't have 30 million bison roaming the plains, the next best thing we can have are cattle.
And even right here, we see the wildlife. They're going to go where the cattle have kept the grasses trimmed up and mowed down, and it's not big tall weeds where predators can pursue them. And here is if you watch these species of birds here, there are several species of birds here that when the cattle come through next to these trees and these groves of cottonwoods that we have here and all of that, you'll see them go out to meet the cattle. And they're there because they've evolved with a hoofed species like the bison, and now our cattle are taking their place. And they fly out to meet those cattle because they know they're kicking up insects, grasshoppers and all types of insects. And it makes that easy for that bird to feed on those insects.